Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Super Real Human. I am so excited to be back with you. It has been a little while, and I'm really excited to be dropping this latest episode. Um, and I think what better way than to kick off this next stretch here than getting real, right? I mean, after all, that's what we're here for at Super Real Human, right? So I'm going to start off by sharing with you a recent experience that I had. Hey, everybody say hi to Marilyn. Hello, sweetheart. Um, we're going to start with as real as it gets, right? I had my first colonoscopy this week, and I am going to dig into all things related to the colonoscopy as a gluten-free cancer survivor. And what did that mean? What did prep look like for me? What were the pros? What were the cons? All of the good stuff. And we're going to start at the very beginning. All right. So what does that look like? What was the very beginning? Well, let's see. I'm almost 48. So my last physical, I was 47, which was just a few months ago. Still am 47. And then before that, at my physical when I was 46, that was right when they switched sort of the guidelines to getting your first colonoscopy when you're 45. And so I had missed it. And my doctor was like, it's time, especially considering your history. Like, let's get you in there. I will tell you that the office that my primary care referred me to was ridiculous in terms of like, they did not reply to my calls to set up an appointment. Like, first of all, they're supposed to reach out to me, right? They didn't. So I reached out again and no response. So then I got a second referral from them. Same thing. Like, doctors, what is up? People need the care. Like, at least call them back and be like, we don't have room or we're not taking new patients or something. Anywho, so I went for my annual visit with my oncologist to go over my cancer scans and all that good stuff. And I said, hey, I'm having trouble booking out in the Metro West Worcester area. Can you just get me a referral in here into Boston? So slowly I am moving all of my Western medical care practitioners into sort of the Dana-Farber Brigham and Women's family. They just seem to be more, I don't know, attentive. Anyway, side note, right? So anyway, got an appointment, got in the calendar. Of course, they're booking months out. So back when I made the appointment, it was for February. So here we are. I had it on Tuesday, and I'm going to just start by saying it was not as bad as I anticipated. And I'm not sure why that was, but I'm going to kind of walk you through what I did as someone who is gluten-free and a cancer survivor, right? With just kind of a funky gut every now and then. And really just kind of walk you through what I did and what my experience was in the hopes that maybe it will help sort of demystify what it is. Because I will tell you, when you go in for the first time, I didn't really you get a little bit of input from folks like Darren, for example. He did a really good job with his prep and he was great. And then afterward, I picked him up and he was like, I really want a steak. And I was like, are you sure you really want to eat a steak? Like, you supposed to do that? And he's like, I want a steak. I'm having a steak. And I was like, okay. I mean, this is on you. So we went out to lunch and he had a steak and he was not happy about that later. It was apparently painful. And so I knew not to have a steak as my first meal post colonoscopy. So just take that one. Don't do a huge meal right after. Okay. So back to my prep. I was determined to make this as easy and as smooth, no pun intended, as possible. So I kind of started a week ahead of time, right? My instructions were 5 days out, stop eating things like whole grains and nuts and seeds and beans and raw fruit, raw vegetables, salad, that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, well, that's my diet as someone who's gluten-free and doesn't eat sort of like white refined flour. All of my bread is whole grain of certain kinds. So I really kind of I did a little bit of advanced planning and figured out, okay, what's like a bland diet that I can eat, but that I'm going to still be full and not like hating myself for a week. Cause I wanted to give it like colonoscopy was on a Tuesday. I started being really good on the Monday before, right? So I gave myself like a full week and then went like hardcore starting Thursday, like at the 5-day mark. So I cut out all the stuff they tell you not to eat, which is like my diet. And I really lived off of like sweet potato, butternut squash, rotisserie chicken, ground turkey. I did some plain white rice, like some jasmine rice and cauliflower rice. Cantaloupe was on the okay list from the research I had done online. So I did chop up a cantaloupe. I had to like hide it from Emma because she loves cantaloupe. And then I stocked up on like bone broth and applesauce and that kind of stuff. I did treat myself because no dairy, right? And I don't do dairy anyway. So I did treat myself. I stocked up on little mini coconut milk puddings, which was amazing and probably a mistake now that I know that they exist and they're tiny and they taste really good because I really liked them. So like leading up to my like liquid day, so days like 5, 4, 3, and 2, I had one every night to treat myself for being good and for being so strict. I gave myself a little coconut milk pudding for dessert. So good. So good. All right. So that was that. I was really good about my prep. Like no alcohol, I haven't been doing coffee for a while. So none of that stuff. I literally had my green tea in the morning and then just water. And then when it came down to prep day, I felt like I was already in a good spot, right? Like there shouldn't be anything stuck in the pipes, right? And so I got a really good quality, low sodium bone broth. And on my liquid day, so Monday, I woke up and after my late night snack of applesauce, because it was the last thing, super fun, by the way, drinking out of those, like eating it out of those kid pouches, like that I used to feed the girls when they were little. It's like, this is really easy. Also, you can plow through like 3 or 4 of them in like a matter of minutes. So careful. But what I did was I started the day with my lemon water and my tea. And then I just had like a travel coffee mug, like my regular Yeti of this bone broth, like heated it up, a couple minutes in the microwave and just sipped on it all morning. I was actually surprisingly full. It was really good. And then kind of went about my day and I might have had like an herbal tea in the afternoon. And then I had another bone broth for lunch. And then I started in. And so at like 2:00 in the afternoon, I had to do the pills. So I took, I think it was Dulcolax. So I took 2 of those at 2:00 and was like just continued to work and do my thing. And at 5:00 was when like the real fun started. So you've got like the bottle of Miralax, which has like 14 daily servings in it that you are going to devour in like a 6-hour time frame or 12-hour time frame, whatever it was. So 5:00, I took half of that bottle in 32 ounces of like an electrolyte drink, right? So I hate electrolyte drinks to begin with. I don't like fake sweeteners or sugar or like it's way too much for me. So I found one at Whole Foods. It was like had real cane sugar in it. Orange was has always been my go-to flavor. And then I did grab a Powerade, like a small bottle. So I was doing the math. I had like a 20 ounce. I needed like 12 ounce. So I did that, and Emma likes not Powerade. I can't remember the name of it. It's one of those, but it's not Powerade. Body Armor, also like orange mango or something. So it actually wasn't that bad. So I mixed up my drinks, sucked them down. You drink all of that within like an hour. That's a lot to consume in an hour. And again, it was like the waiting game. I'm going to tell you, it wasn't bad. I anticipated like pain, like gut wrenching, cramping pain. No, it actually wasn't bad. I mean, it was definitely like gotta go. It wasn't bad. And because I had done such good prep, and this is in hindsight, right? And talking to like the nurses and stuff when I went in for the procedure, it was actually really good. It was pretty smooth. And I was like at that like ready stage relatively quickly, but they still make you go through the whole process because your body is still processing it, doing its thing. So from 5 to 6 was round one. And then it was just like drinking water because they want you to drink an additional like 64 ounces of just water to stay hydrated. Understandable, because let me tell you, I was thirsty. And then 6 hours before your procedure, you do round two. For me, that was 1 a.m. So I was able to cram in a cat nap on the couch with the dog from like 9:30 to 12:30, get up, do my second round of prep. There really wasn't much sleeping from that point forward, because then at 4 o'clock, which was 3 hours before my procedure, you're done. Like no more water, no more nothing. So that was a lot of liquid to consume in that time frame. So yeah, so that was that. Darren picked me up at like 6 in the morning and we headed into town and, kind of went in. It was super smooth, right? Like everyone was really easygoing. It was nice, did all the questions. It's funny because they're like, since you're under 55, we have to give you a pregnancy test. I said, what if I don't have a uterus? They were like, well, then you don't have to have a pregnancy test. I was like, because if you're going to give me one without a uterus, like I got questions. So that was really interesting. The nurse and I had a good laugh about that. Um, they were delightful, actually. The whole team at Brigham and Women's was just like, they were awesome. They did give me an IV in my hand, which you can't really tell. It's still a little bruised here. But because of the way they kind of like roll you on your side, they don't want it in the elbow because then administering the meds are hard and that kind of thing. So it was great. Now, mind you, I'm exhausted. I'm already starting to fall asleep before I get the push of medicine. So I go into the room. The doctor was very like, hi, Dr. So-and-so. I need this, this, and this. And I was like, hi, doctor, nice to meet you. And I'm like my normal chitty chatty self. And she's just like, I'm like, oh, here, we're going. All right, great. So then the nurse who's administering the meds, they like roll me over. I'm watching this enormous TV screen. So I'm like, oh, I get to watch. This is fabulous. I'm like, I can't wait to see what things look like on the inside, right? I twisted, I know, but like, this is what's going through my head, right? The curiosity. So then she's like, all right, we're going to give you the medicine and you're going to get really sleepy. And I was like, okay, great. And she's like, puts it in and I'm like, okay, like, I get scans all the time. So I'm like, you taste like the metallic stuff that your body tastes when it goes through your system. And I was like, oh, there's the taste. And I said, it should be literally, that was my internal monologue, was like out. So I think the fact that I was tired probably also helped, but I mean, like out cold. It felt like the best nap ever. I mean, by the time I woke up, I was like, oh, I feel so good. And then I was like, I was in recovery and I was like, no one's in here. I'm just going to keep my eyes closed. Maybe they won't notice. Maybe they'll think I'm still under and I'll just get to sleep a little bit longer because it felt that good. It literally was the best nap ever. It was awesome. But then they came in, they woke me up, changed, on my way. And so I get the report, they print it out for me. They found one polyp. It was a flat polyp. I don't know what that means. I haven't Googled that yet. And then, it's off for pathology and I'll find out about it, whatever. And when I do, I'll come back and update you on what they come back and tell me, because I find that stuff fascinating. Obviously, as a cancer survivor, I find it actually quite freaking scary, but also fascinating at the same time. So we'll do a follow-up. But I am so glad I blocked the rest of the day off, right? Like there's part of me that's like, oh, I'm going to go home. I'll like take it easy, but I'll log in and I'll get some work done. I've got some client work I want to deliver on. Oh no, I came home. Luckily, even though I was super, super hungry, the only food I had in the house was some of like the prep stuff. So like the applesauce and the broth and the soup. So I literally did like super mushy foods. I think I had a butternut squash soup that I had made still left over. So I had like super smooth foods. It made sort of re-entry fabulous, a lot easier. And then I fell asleep for another 3-hour nap. Like this mama clearly was in a deficit because, oh my God, that felt good. I woke up, hung out with the dog, did my things, hung out with M. Another super light dinner. I even forget what we ate that night. I might not have even have eaten dinner that night because I think I had like snacked on like lots of applesauce and stuff that I could eat. And that was that. And then I got another 8 hours of sleep that night. Friends, when I tell you, like, I have not slept that much in a long time, it felt so good. The next day, I like get up and I go into my client and they're like, you actually look like alive and refreshed. And I'm like, oh, I got to tell you, I was like, I am so well rested. Like, let's get it done. Let's get this shiz done. It was awesome. So that's sort of my like play by play. I will tell you, since we're being really real here, did not have an actual bowel movement until today. I have never gone that long. But I will tell you, like, since we're on the topic of poop, it was great. Like, when you have like a movement that you're like, ah, right? Like yeah, like I'm sure you have your preferences, but like I know my body and I know when my body's in a really good place, and having everything cleaned out and then being able to start from scratch with like my probiotics. I take seed. I love it. Um, I get to start with my probiotics and kind of get on a regimen that I like and put the good foods into my body. Um, yeah, like mama's body's happy. This is great. So here are my takeaways and why I think that like whether you're gluten-free or not, like I think being gluten-free and not being able to eat some of the things they tell you to eat because they're not like the greatest, but they're all like white flour based, just white starch, just for cleanliness purposes, right? I was really intimidated by that. But I actually think it would do people good to think a little bit about it and plan ahead for it. I know it sucks. Nobody likes to restrict, but I think that is what gave me a more positive experience, right? Like, no, it's not fun sitting on the toilet for like 12 hours on and off. And yes, your bum is unhappy by like 2 a.m. But 12 hours in, your body's like, okay, can we stop? Like, oh, wipes. Just because it's nice to have an alternative, flushable wipes. That's another thing. Um, Everyone says pick a Gatorade flavor you don't like or a flavor you don't like. The clear one, which would have been great, is cherry flavored, and I don't like cherry, so there's no way I would have gotten 64 ounces of a cherry flavored anything down. So I stuck with orange, which is coincidentally the flavor that when I was pregnant and super nauseous when I was pregnant with Madeline, the first go round, I would make slushies. I would stick my orange Gatorade in the freezer, and that's what I would drink. So to me, it's already something that I found soothing when I didn't feel great. So I kind of stuck with it, and I don't hate it. I'm sure I'll still drink it if I need to, but so definitely do the prep work and give yourself a week to really bring your eating in line and like dumb it down a little bit so that your body isn't like going into shock when you start prep. That would be my first piece of advice. The other piece, right? Like I say, how I did my colonoscopy prep as a gluten-free cancer survivor. I think that gave me a mindset about it where I didn't want to leave anything to chance, right? I want to be as like clean slate as possible so that they have eyes wide open into anything, especially because the kind of cancer that I had is not like, it's not glaringly obvious, right? It's not something that can be treated with chemo or radiation. So, and it pops up in different places. And so I want, again, eyes wide open. I want doctors to be able to see whatever it is they need to see. So, I was just super, I was super anal about it. But I think that's a good thing and well worth it because it was not as scary as I thought it was going to be. It was not painful. I was so tired and my body was ready to be done with what I had been prepping for that I didn't even think about like the logistics of what was going to happen once I got in there. Right. I think for years of like hearing about colonoscopies, all those years, I was sort of like, oh my God, they're going to do what? Like where? Like, right. And like you think about it and you clench. And it wasn't like that at all. Right. Like I was ready. I knew what I was in for. And I just didn't even think about it. I was relaxed before I even got the meds to relax me. So I think if you go into it, right, if you're anxious about the procedure or any procedure for that matter, go at it with the mindset of like, this is an opportunity for me to find out information, right? Like, obviously that's what we're doing. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, right? And you feel nothing afterward except hunger and thirst, like hunger and thirst, 100%. They very sweetly gave me apple juice afterward. And I was like, it was like a shooter at that point. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you guys because again, we don't talk about the things. We don't talk about the things. I will tell you that one of the other things I did was I Googled because like, they'll tell you like, your stool should look like this by the end. Like you're ready when it's like this. Just Google it and find one of the color charts that they share with you, right? At first you're like, that is nasty. And then you're like, okay, like, you know, when your body's ready. Like you could be like at the very beginning and you're like, are we done yet? And you're like, no, unfortunately not. So you know what you're looking for. You're prepared when you go in because they will ask you, how's your prep? How'd things look? Right? Like you're going to be talking about poop for days. It's just worth it. It's not as bad. Doing the prep is worth it. Doing the research to find other people. Like I went onto like Pinterest and Google and was like, okay, gluten-free colonoscopy prep meal plans. These resources are out there. People are talking about it. We need to talk about this stuff more so people don't have questions, so that they can feel comfortable and they can make choices that are right for them. So if you have dietary restrictions, if you have no idea and you're just overwhelmed by all of the instructions, like the resources are out there. Talk about it. Share these things. Talk to your girlfriends, talk to your guy friends, go through those motions and talk about it. If you are going through this stuff, you're not alone. Reach out to a friend with questions. Dig into it. We will talk more and we will continue to get real more and more on Super Real Human. But for now, I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for joining us, and I'll see you next time.